Hey guys, my name is Chrissy Smith. This is Nine Lives Energy, and together we energize your body from the inside out. If you like this video, make sure that you like it and comment below and let us know how this full moon in Virgo treated you this past weekend. And along with whatever we're going to be talking about today, which is all the energy that we have in Pisces going on. Right now, we have a different type access going on. So usually we have Virgo in our sky in the fall, and at the end of our summer toward our fall. So we're used to having that type of energy around, which is, do these things, and having good habits with our work, having good habits with ourselves, but making sure that we're not too much of trying to be a control habit. And Pisces, which rules our subconscious and is the last sign of the zodiac wheel, it controls kind of our dream state and our illusions. And right now, it's being highlighted in the sky with the constellation Pisces in the sky. So you might be feeling a little bit more dreamlike during the day. Maybe this is when you feel like you're getting maybe more downloads, or you're able to connect to higher source. A good way to kind of connect with this, or kind of maybe move the energies around that you might be dealing with emotionally, as you look at some of the things in your life, which may be illusions in how we treat ourselves, how we treat each other, how maybe the relationships we have and the illusions that we have around that. So without further ado, Deborah Robinson is welcomed back by Nine Lives Energy. And she is an astrologer here in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you are interested in getting your birth chart read by her, you can find her information in the description box below, or you can find it in the ticker that is scrolling across the bottom. Deborah, how are you today? You are looking magnificently beautiful, and she is handling this Pisces energy pretty well. And it's probably because, what specific planet do you have, or point do you have in your chart that lets you be able to handle some of this watery emotional energy so well?
Well, Christy, what can I say, honey? I'm water, water, water. My sun sign is Cancer, water. My ascendant is Cancer, water, and my moon is in Pisces, water. So I have pretty much had to, and am still learning how to balance the emotional side of me, because again, as you said so well in the introductory, and let me pause for just a moment and say, yay for Nine Lives Energy. Um, and thank you for the opportunity every other Wednesday to come on, which we have labeled as Woo's Day. Um,
Tuesday.
yeah, so it's
Look how far
exciting. We've come a long way, baby. But you were talking about Pisces, and Pisces. I was excited to come on today because it's like I had two stories that I read in the media that were relative to Pisces energy. And of course, Mercury is definitely a part of that stellium that you were talking about that's in Pisces. We've got Saturn, we've got Neptune, and we've got the sun that's in there. And that stellium, of course, is 3+ planets that's together, and they can take on each other's personality. And then when you talk about Mercury being there, but let me tell you about these two stories right quick before we get into it, because I thought that they were just so perfect for the Pisces energy. Pisces actually rules medicine, okay? So I don't know if you all have heard about it or not, but I thought that this was some absolutely fantastic news, because we don't hear this every day. But there is a once upon a time, she was a professor at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and it's located in Bronx, New York. And her name is Ruth Gottsman, Gottesman. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. But anyway, this lady, she did a philanthropic donation to the medical students that are attending that school of $1 billion. and it took care of their tuition. I was getting ready to say their intuition. Intuition is part of Pisces. But anyway, it's paying in full. So I mean, if you could have seen the excitement of the students, it was just, they were jumping up and down. And then those who are in the last year, they're going to be reimbursed their money. But
Oh,
Miss
wow.
Gosman, yeah, Miss Gosman's husband left the money, and he told her, do whatever you feel that you want to do with it. And I'm like, oh boy, that is some trust for real, to leave that money. And she did, and she's definitely on their board at this time. But my mind got to just wondering about, because Pisces is also about compassion too. And so
Hmm.
I was like, gosh, wonder what these students are going to be able to contribute back for this wonderful gift that they've been given. And I'm like, wow, that is really something. So I'm looking forward to the impact that down the road that these medical doctors that are going to get their degree and helping people with medicine. So that was really powerful to me. And the other one is really funny. And it's on this place called Reddit. And it always asks the question, I think I'll spell it instead of saying it. It always asks, am I a ASSHOLE? And so this lady, she was asking the question, and what it was around was her husband did not want her to work when they got married. And so he wanted her to be a stay at home, and they don't have any children. And so he has brought all the money in, and she has managed all the money and everything. And so on her wedding day, her mother came to her and told her to always put a stash of money to the side in the event that there's a divorce or a breakup or something, to have her a nest egg. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Pisces is about secrets. You talked about the subconscious, and it's about secrets. So this story was like, what are the things that we are holding on to? So she, her husband had come to the point where he got ill. And so they needed the money, but she was questioning whether she was going to bring forth this money, and it was $47,000. And so, or he lost his job. That's what it was. He lost his job. And then he started working two jobs, and then he was doing Uber on the weekend. I mean, and he was talking about how exhausted he was and everything. And so she was asking the question if people felt like that she was, that type of person for not saying anything. And so, boy, they lit into her, telling her that yes, she was. And so then I began to think about it from her perspective. And then I went back further because when we think about the age in which, or eras that we've come up in, there has been a lot of secrecy around things that people should not have been responsible for. So, she was just simply listening to something that her mother told her, which was not wise at all. And if she could have simply come to her husband and said, okay, well, this is the amount of money that I've been setting aside, and this is the time that we need it. And so you don't have to work so hard. So I'll give her a pass for being the a-hole. I'll give her a pass for that, because she was only doing what she had been taught by her mother. And so secrets in this sense can be very dangerous. And so this is something that the Pisces energy wants us to be able to take a look at in our lives, because it's the hidden thing, it's the subconscious. And when you are unaware of something, then you're not conscious of it. You're doing it from the subconscious perspective, and you have to look at it. Is that learned behavior? Because the key word for Pisces is I believe, I dream. you mentioned about the daydreaming because that's all Neptune. And so with Pisces ruling our sleep habits, and then you were talking about that you had a little difficulty at night sleeping. Well, that could be just the lingering of the full moon because the full moon can impact our sleep. But because Pisces does rule our sleep and it does rule our dream life, it's where the mystic lives, it's our psychic abilities, it's our spirituality. It's mutable. It's the very last sign, as you said, of the astrological calendar. So we're getting ready to go into a new year when Aries approaches, and also Pisces started a day earlier because we have a leap year this year. So that kind of teeter-totters whether that sign starts a day early or ends a day later. So with all this activity that's going on, and then you've got the moon that's actually squaring Pluto too. So that can have some impact too. This is the idealism. This is where the romantic person lives, the poet, all this energy. Pisces rules institutions. It rules prisons. So it has a lot of responsibility that it is regarding when it comes to our lives, and it rules the feet. So if you know anybody that's a good dancer like myself, I love dancing. They probably have Pisces somewhere in their chart because it is ruling over dancing too. So that's a beautiful thing, but it's very mystical. Again, it's very secretive. So we have to be mindful of making sure that we're not passing along traditional religion or cultural things that can bring harm. So this is the time when we get to go deep into our subconscious and take an evaluation. That's why Mercury is there. And you talked about it being a little bit diminishing, and I'll let you speak on that part. But when it comes to Pisces, and I can see that it kind of dumbs down the communication, but at the same time, to me, it's slowing it down so that we have the ability to stop and take a brief inventory. Because when we looked at Taurus and Jupiter is all about our beliefs. Beliefs are what we have been taught, but what it is when we get to Pisces is I believe. We have turned those beliefs into a part of what our habits are and what our day-to-day is, and that's what that full moon in Virgo was about. I analyze, telling us to, in our day-to-day, look at what you're doing, analyze it to make sure that it is for your benefit and not from the conditioned mind. So we've got a lot to look at. And then also when it comes to Pisces, you're looking at, that's where addictions, escapism is also there too, suicide. So this is a very powerful time that we are in under the sign of Pisces. And I've been constantly doing this because you've got the two fish that are the symbol that are both going that way. And it is a good representation of our faith, of our spiritual life. And then when it comes to Neptune, Neptune rules the fog. And so it is amazing. When I went to have my eyes examined, that yearly thing that you do. And so I have a cataract on my left eye, which I already knew. And so the doctor, he's kind of geeky. And so he kept going, And so he was like, so you really are seeing these letters through that left eye, because the cataract makes this little cloudy appearance over the lens of the eye. And he was like, I said, yeah. He was like, well, you're calling the letters right. So I'm not doubting that. He said, I just don't quite understand how you are able to see through that cloudiness. And so, I got to thinking about that from a spiritual perspective, being that, my moon is in Pisces with the Neptune, but Neptune is not in Pisces. My Neptune is in my fourth house, Libra, So that is another story right there. But
The fourth house is controlled by Cancer.
yes, absolutely. So it's
So
like
that's still a lot of water.
a whole lot of water, baby. So being able to see through the cloudiness, through those illusions and through those delusions, having the ability to be able to see no matter that the clouds are there, because it's one thing for sure, no matter how cloudy it is, it does not stop the sun from shining. The sun is still there.
Yeah. Well, you wore the best color today to use all this energy, red, for Aries. You're shining bright with Aries and with Chiron and Aries, I tell you. I pulled this chart up and I was trying to show it a little bit earlier. And anyway, the way that I made this chart today, hopefully you guys can see it. But at the top where you see the number 10, I just have everything kind of in the top part of the chart so that you could see the Cazimi, which is when Mercury is in direct alignment with the sun. And it's also being given energy by Saturn as well. When I look at this, because Mercury is not in a good place with Pisces, is it actually in detriment? So it can kind of feel like a Mercury in retrograde. So people that normally are affected by those things, whether it be their communication and having relationships, or maybe their car always has issues during Mercury in retrograde, or maybe their technology on their phone, or something always messes up usually around this time. Or if your chart is ruled by Mercury, you could experience some just, I'd say, just kind of like a heaviness type feeling to where people aren't really moving the energy like they should. When I think about the water, and Pisces is our fixed water sign, it could have a tendency to, because it controls illusions, it could make us think, depending on where the placement is in your chart, of things in our own lives that we have illusions about the relationships that we have in our life. Does that person really love you? Or is it a codependent relationship? Are you hanging on to a job for whatever reason? If you look a little bit closer to this, you see these nines that are there. It's like a triple 9 degree. I forget the guy's first name. Stanovich, I think, is his last name. And he was an astrologer, and he came up with the degree theory, which, 1 degree is Aries, 2 degrees is Taurus, and it goes all the way around the zodiac wheel. A 9 degree is the ninth house of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius controls our religion. Sagittarius controls our belief system. So right now, our belief systems and all these structures around us are being tested. And if Mercury is in fall and the sun is in Pisces, it could be shining a light with the moon that we just had in Virgo. All these things that maybe we need to take a look at. Is it a relationship that we need to take a look at? Is it a health habit? Is it a mindset that we have? And so our mindset around some of these illusions that we have, I feel like some of these, the way that it looks like it's going, there's two types of timelines that may be going on. There's the timeline that is going to still follow the systems that we have in place. And then there's others that are working and educating themselves and are going to be the way showers, star seeds, whatever you want to say, to the people that are going to go after us. What foundations are we going to lay down? Because the foundations that we've come to know our whole lives are no longer there anymore. So this is why I like, this type of energy right here, because it's really getting us to take a look at our subconscious during the day. And that's not when we really want to look at things. We want to just go about our day to day, which is Virgo, and just do our rat race, which is get up at this time, go to work at this time, come home at this time. And, you have a couple of days off on the weekend, maybe, and if you're not working a second job because, things are expensive right now. But guess what? That a lot of information is coming up right now. And because Mercury is in detriment, it could mean that all this information is coming out and like Mercury doesn't know how to handle it, and the dam is breaking. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out about the chemicals that are in our foods right now, what we eat and our habits around eating. That's Virgo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going on in our medical systems. And, you know, when I see this up here at the top, and Pisces controls a little bit of our medical system and the shots and the healthcare system in that way. But if there are people that are looking at more of medicine in a spiritual way, maybe looking at spiritual astrology, you know, medical astrology, you can actually look at somebody's birth chart and tell, hey, you might have this health issue. And 9 times out of 10, more than likely they do. And that's just because it works. Astrology works, you know, and it's just a map of your personality. We are all the zodiac signs. We are all Geminis. We're all Tauruses. We're all Cancers. We're all Sagittariuses. And we all show up in different aspects of our being. And when we learn more about ourselves through this divination, or I believe it's an educational tool in order to have a better understanding of ourself and a master of self. And once you know the dark parts of yourself that nobody wants to look at anymore, that's where the growth is. And so I thank astrology for that, because it's been able to help me be able to look at parts of myself that I don't know that I would have been able to have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the heart to feel, or the mind to know that these are some areas that I might need to work on. And, you know, at the end of the day, you are the common denominator for all these things that are going on in your life, whether they're good or bad. And when you realize the power of manifestation and the power that you have in your thoughts, and just going out on faith, you know, if Mercury is in, you know, detriment at this time, let's just go out on faith in the Pisces sun. You know, let's just think, okay, God, this is what you want me to do, or universe, or higher self, or my guides, whoever you look to, they are divinely maybe guiding you if you'll just stop and listen. And a good way to deal with this, you know, besides wearing red like Deborah, get the energy moving around. Don't just sit in stagnant water and watch television. Go walk outside, move the energy around. Go walk your pet. That's one of the best things that you can do, because Virgo is an earth sign. So a way that you can deal with some of this water is to look at the opposite sign, work with that energy. If you're having some tension going on and things just feel a little off, but you don't know what it is.
But one beautiful thing in regards to, you know, the shadow, because you're talking about Pisces, and then its shadow side of it is Virgo. And when it comes to shadow, or what we think that we don't want to look at, the shadow part is that part that we call our weaknesses. And in this case, then we're looking at Pisces, which is the strength of it at this particular time. So when we look at anything that's polar or opposite of it, it is the shadow. And the shadow is simply where we have not seen the full picture of it. So again, that's where we have to definitely allow ourselves a lot of grace, because when we look at the many things, the miseducation in every aspect of our lives, then we're getting the opportunity to make a lot of corrections in that thing and live from the Piscean eyes. Because again, it is the spirituality, and with those 9 degrees, and 9 degrees is 9, the number 9 in numerology, if I can get my tongue to work right here, is definitely ending a cycle. And yes, it is the house ruled by Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is higher education as well. So look what happened. This $1 billion donation to pay off the student tuition. I'll get ready to say intuition again. And then, but at the same time, I had one of my friends who called to ask me if I would be interested in this program that they have at one of our hospitals right now. And it is amazing because it is integrating. It has yoga, it has healing touch. So a lot of our doctors' offices are integrating metaphysical modalities that can help. So we have to realize too that there are spiritual people who are employed in different places. And yes, we have seen the majority of what is not working. And so we have a tendency to think that there are things that are not working, but there are people who are helping to clean up the waterways. They're educating us in regards to how the plastics are harming the sea life. And so there is good communication going on too. And you talked about the detriment of Mercury being in there. That could have been why AT&T of last week it was, I believe, or was this at the beginning of the week? One of it. But it knocked out over 70-some thousand people's ability to communicate. And so they found what the glitch was and fixed it. And so people were tripping out because they didn't have that habit forming a phone. And, you know, hey, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I have to say, put the phone away. Don't touch the phone. Don't look at it. I have to say that. It is very addictive. You know, it's like, did I care about that much of what was going on a long time ago? But that's the atmosphere now. But again, our self-will is never taken away from us. Our self-will gives us the ability to keep choosing. And I really do believe that, you know, when it comes to whatever we call our higher power, as you say, God, source, guides, you know, whatever we call it, it is this loving energy that allows the grace to know that, you know, we are unconscious in a lot of things. And so as we are coming into these great awakenings, and that is Uranus all day long, and we are in the age of Aquarius, where we are waking up. There is change being made. And so with these nines that are in demonstrating itself in the degree, it is the complete of the cycle. And at the same time, when you look at the number 9, you've got 1, which is definitely about the self. And then at the top, you have the cosmic egg. And so it is always about beginnings, being able to start a new cycle. And so Pisces, with it being a mutable sign, that is all about change, is always preparing for what's next. And I think that's where we get stuck a lot. And it's not so much of preparing for the future, but it is being that good analyzer that Virgo is. And so when we have, when I look at Mercury being detriment, then to me, the opposite in Virgo, because that's where the voice of the critic lives. And we have to be mindful when the voice of the critic is speaking. Like you said, it might say, don't go walk nothing today. You don't feel like walking. Nah, do it. Start it tomorrow. Don't go exercise, you know, or, you know, if your car is not working or whatever, it is the don't do. It gives you every procrastinating excuse that there is. So therefore, we have to be mindful of looking at what it is that we can do the complete opposite of, that our highest self can be, that we are expressing. So I just want us to remember that there are individuals such as Chrissy, such as Deborah, that we are among the collective, and there is a lot of collective that is speaking up, that is speaking out, and we're working within our world. Our world is our community, because that's what Aquarius is all about. And looking at the Uranus being in Taurus, Taurus is about value because of Venus, and Venus is currently still in Aquarius along with Mars. So those two are getting a good workover because, again, Mars is our action. It's also our aggression. It is also war, which we know that's everywhere. And so we keep speaking peace until it happens, and it will. It doesn't look like it. Again, that's the illusion and that's the delusion if we look in what we're hearing out here. But again, there is a lot of integration that is going on where the metaphysical activities that are being, so the old and the new are mixing. And again, that goes right to Saturn, those old rules, those places where we're holding on to things, because Pisces energy, it can hold on to, all water signs can hold on. So here it is saying, surrender. And I like that so much better than letting go. Because when we say letting go, so many people don't know what that means to let go because they've held on for so long. But it's easy when you have the word surrender. It seems so much easier. That's just my perspective of it. And so when these times of the month come around, when Virgo, the full moon came around, and I was able to look at what those characteristics and qualities that the Virgo energy has. Again, this earthen vessel, health, and as you said, taking a look at it, whether it's exercise, whether it's food, every part of us is important. The animals, Virgo is where pet lovers, they're great pet lovers, and so we don't leave the pets out. We don't exclude anything. Love knows no boundaries. It knows no gender. It just knows to love. And so that's what we're coming to. That takes us into our highest spiritual self. And as we, these big institutions that are once upon a time that were ruling things, and it still looks like they're ruling things. But again, Pluto is saying your time of reign is ending. And so how is that happening? Deconstruction for reconstruction. So we just have to keep the faith. That's what the Pisces energy wants us to do, to keep the faith that all is going to be well. Whether we hear or not, it's changing.
I was looking on Facebook today, and sometimes I go through my memories on the timeline, and one of them was from February 29th, and it was funny. It was like, make sure that you post this today because the next time you'll get a notification that you did it is 4 years from now. But then the other one that I saw, it was the last day of February in 2019. I lost my stepfather. I lost my boyfriend. I almost lost my part-time job. I lost my cat. And at the very end of the month, at the very end, on the very last day, I got a speeding ticket. I'm like, I want to go home before something else bad happens. And I tell you what, I'm reflecting back on that, because as sad as that month was for me, it really, I was at a low point. And I'm so glad that I had my mom to kind of fall on. And I'm so glad my mom had me to fall on. And she's a Pisces, Virgo rising, right?
Oh, and wow.
We were able to lean on each other. But then when it was time for me to set my own foundation in August, it was almost like 2019 was the year that I had to set a bunch of closure, or that was the beginning of my closure. And the ending of the story that I was born to live.
Yeah.
I'm now stepping into the story that I'm destined to live. And I love listening to Chris Witecki on Friday nights, because he says, we're in the age of Aquarius. It's time to, put your big girl panties on, or do the changing that you need to, release the things that you need to, step out on faith, get these habits in order. And I tell you, looking back on it now, that was some of the most challenging times of my life. After that, I mean, a year later, I lost my personal training business when the lockdowns happened. I never recovered from that. But I tell you who has recovered. Guess who's card debt free as of today. It has taken me long to pay off that debt since March of 2020. And
congratulations.
That's a habit to have. Even though it's been tight the last month, I did it. And it's going to be tight this month, but I'm going to do it. And, thank goodness that the credit card was there when I needed it. But, sometimes we get used to living a certain way.
Right.
And I didn't need to live like that anymore. Maybe I got pushed down to the bottom to say, all right, what do you really value?
Yeah.
What do you value? And hold on to what you really value. Sit back on faith and just watch opportunities open up for you. I mean, I not ran for office in 2022, I never would have met you. Had I never stood up, to help other candidates and then myself, I never would have met you. And what an awesome opportunity that was for me to help me work through my shadow and help me put my energies towards something that was of service, not something that was of service to self. And service of self is, to me, service to self is not using your time wisely. I mean, seriously, it really is, because a lot of times when you aren't using your time wisely, you're in addictive type behaviors. What, it could be watching too much television. It could not be working out. It could be going to the bar and drinking too much, or not sticking to your diet, or choosing
Yeah.
bad relationships. I mean, addictions come in all forms. And
All
so
forms.
all forms.
All
So,
forms.
and so it gave me an opportunity to not have any boredom, which is what was feeding my, bad behaviors. And I was able to put it towards something good. And I was too tired to participate in bad behaviors. And over time, I realized, like, I really was not that happy at all. I'm so glad that I get an opportunity to start over, to
Isn't that
start over.
wonderful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
That's
starting over with yourself. You're starting over by, looking at some of your past decisions and saying, you know what, I could still be there, but I chose different.
that's right.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
I've realized how much of a Leo rising that I am, not only because I have good hair.
Your mane is beautiful.
I love my name. I even made a little short and put it on my YouTube. You'll have to go and check it out.
I will.
But,
Is in
you're
regards to your hair?
when you do this. Also look at some of the good qualities of the Leo of standing up, and and where my Jupiter is in the 11th house of Aquarius, and in Gemini. And I'm like, okay, well, no wonder I stood up, because I'm for humanity. I'm for
Right.
telling the truth. I'm for, let's be about communicating well, and not telling a bunch of lies just so certain people can benefit. That's not going to benefit all.
Right.
And maybe I was supposed to go through all these experiences. It just makes me, sometimes I just sit back and I'm in awe, and I wonder, when is the day that I'm going to write that book that is going to tell everybody about certain parts of my life, and how I've come to the place that I am. And I think that I wasn't able to maybe write that book, uh, uh, you know, uh, because I wasn't in a place to do it. I hadn't grown enough. And honestly, Deborah, I feel like I have grown 4 lifetimes in the last year. Just how much that I've been moving forward. And there's a part of me sometimes, that feels like I move fast, but sometimes I put too much on my plate, which makes me feel overwhelmed, and I need to slow down. I need to slow down. Virgo, slow down. Don't feel like you have to have so much control. Like, do what you can, take away some of the things that you can't work on at this moment. I was listening to a lady who did a podcast on the full moon, Meg Moonbeam. If you haven't looked at her, I love her. Anyway, she said, ask yourself these 4 questions. She said she was being guided to ask people this. Number one, prioritize things in your life. What do you need to prioritize? Sometimes when you prioritize things, you got to let certain things go, or you got to wrap certain things up because that was the most important. Prioritize that. Then you can feel like you have a clearer foundation. Not, well,
Right.
I got to work on, but let me start on this and add even more onto my plate. Number 2 is, do you need to get organized? How many of us have still got that clutter up from however many years ago, or we're going to clean out that closet 2 years ago? And then the third one is, are you in balance? Do you feel like you're giving too much into the spiritual world, and you're not giving too much to your day to day? Or are you working too much and not connecting to your spirit? You got to do more than just on Sunday. Sorry,
That's
folks.
true. Yes.
That's an old system right there. Break out of that. And
Yes.
then number 4, do you have a health concern? If there's a health issue that you got going on, which is controlled by Pisces and the Virgo axis, that needs to be addressed first, because if you aren't healthy, everybody else is going to suffer because you don't have it to give. So ask yourself those 4 questions, and which one is the most important. Go from there.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I certainly wrote those 4 down, and you're right. And Saturday, I was with a group of people when the full moon occurred. We did a sound bath. Oh my
Ooh,
goodness gracious. It was a wonderful experience. And one of the individuals, her birthday was actually yesterday, but the gentleman who did the sound, he wanted to give her that as her birthday gift. And so those individuals who attended, we got to participate with part of her gifting. And, you know, before I laid down and I was just looking around the room because it was maybe 15 people that were there and oh my goodness gracious. And if I probably wouldn't have tried to be so nosy while the sound bath was going on, there was two people who were beside me. They were snoring. However, it wasn't a snore that would interrupt your time and space because where I was laying, it was like right at the entrance of where all the instruments that this gentleman was playing. And when I say that I could just feel those sound frequencies going through my body, it felt so good. And when I say being nosy, I wanted to go to sleep. However, I couldn't go to sleep and I didn't. So I finally relaxed. And by the time I totally relaxed, then it was over. But however, I know that I could just feel a big difference. And so, as I said, a lot of the metaphysical things, the modalities, the yoga, the meditation, you know, all these different therapies, healing touch, and there's tapping. There's so many things that can help us with all of the four questions that you gave. It can help us to quieten the mind. When you quieten the mind, you can organize and prioritize. You can do it. And like you said, but you have to be aware that I'm overwhelmed right now. I'm doing too much. And that's when
that was
that's when your inner, your inside is talking to you and you have to listen. And not only do you have to listen, that's where you get to choose. Am I going to do something different or am I going to wear myself out and then exhausted? And then, you know, there was a situation yesterday that happened. I got paper jam in my printer, ran out of ink, all at the same time. And I could feel frustration. And I thought, okay, that's, you know, this is enough to make you feel frustration. But am I going to remain here? And I said, you know what? There is a resolve. And so my neighbor who works on computers and stuff, I just text and I was like, I got a paper jam. Can you help me? Simple. Yes. Took my printer and I hooked it back up today. And so I was able to continue doing what I was doing. And so again, we're not saying that overwhelm doesn't happen. Overwhelm is real. We're not saying that frustration doesn't happen. Frustration is real. Sadness happens. One of my friends, I visited with her last week. She's transitioning. She has cancer. And she said, Deborah, I'm not afraid. And I'm like, wow. And she said, I have no pain. I'm like, wow. You know, so it touched me just to hear her as she's preparing. A lot of people don't get the opportunity to prepare as they're, you know, moving on to their eternal self and shaking off of the physical. So there is a lot. And I don't want to downplay that, nor do I want to give it more credit than it actually deserves, because there is always some type of medicine and not the pill that we take. And sometimes pills are necessary to take. We can take supplements too. So we're not denying any of that either. But again, it comes to what you said, that third question that the person, where's the balance? Make sure that we are applying balance. And one thing that I love with the Leo placement at this time, it is Aquarius opposite. And so we get to look at the places of where we've been taught to have too much ego. If we didn't have ego, we wouldn't be here. But where is the ego out of balance? And we can look into our world to see where the ruling has been very egotistical. It has been abused. And so now it's the opposite of Aquarius, where now we are shifting ourselves, our individual lives, so that we can be part of the collective, so that we can be part of the community. So things are changing. And as we do it on an individual level, it is having so much impact. So people are in places where they should be. So there is some changes. So when we feel the sadness, when we feel the grief, when we feel the frustration, when we feel the agitation, that's where we calm ourselves down, close your eyes for a few minutes. I'll be like in the grocery store sometimes and my mind just be running. So I'll just grab my buggy and act like I'm looking on the shelf or something. I say, Deborah, bring it down a notch, bring it down a notch, you know, or somebody else's energy in the store or anywhere I go. If somebody else's energy, and if somebody says something to me like, you know, what's the matter with them? I just kind of look at them and smile, you know, because engaging in that conversation, you know, means that I'm a part of that collective energy. So I shift the energy, and we do have that power to wherever we're walking into a room to shift the energy. So why not use the power that we've been given? So instead of having the egotistical energy that's been so prevalent, and as they say, unprecedented, we've had some ego that's been so unprecedented in our world today. We're changing that energy. So things are getting better. They really are. You just got to be able to see it. So don't let the illusions and don't let the delusions make you think that all is going to waste. I don't believe it for 1 minute. I really, really don't. I believe that we're winning.
Look at the news. It's just bad. Not
all of it is. Not all of it is. You know, it is a lot of bad news that's out there, but not all of it is. That's why I have a tendency
we need
to listen
find
to
the articles that Deb finds about people being philanthropists.
Yeah. See? Exactly. So there is some, and I'm like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. This lady, $1 billion, and they don't have to have they're not in debt when they get out of school. And think about it while they're doing their work, because 9 with Sagittarius again with the higher education. And also, this is a good time to write, Christy, because the journalist, the writing, that's in the 9th house too. So this is a good time. And there are a lot of new books that are coming out. I saw an article about that, and it is females who are really writing this. I'm not being a feminist. I'm just saying that the divine feminine energy is showing up to bring the balance that has been such the imbalance. So the divine feminine is waking up, honey. So we might as well get used to it. So the bookshelves are going to look different, because in our world, in our culture, it's been very one-sided. It has been from the male's voice of making rules, what our history says. It has not been the whole story. And so now the whole stories are being put together, which is fair. And that is definitely with the Libra being the in the South Node. And Aries is that part of us that is going forward, the pioneer, the individuality that is standing up. And so the justices, equality is at a slow pace, is happening. We just got to be patient with it. It's a lot of things that are changing. So that's the mutability of Pisces. It's changing, so we have to move with it. And because we live in a society that's just like go, 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 go. We have to step back in a minute and say, okay, all right, breathe, breathe, and keep going, because the work that we're putting in it, when we were at home, 20, 21, 22, when we were at home, a lot of eyes came open. A lot of eyes came open during the coronavirus. And so that was a great awakening then, because Uranus had gone into Taurus. And so the great awakening is still happening. And there are certain things that are happening. So as it is, we just have to have peace within, and we are. So we have to give ourselves more credit than we do, but we're doing good. I think you're doing an excellent job.
I think everybody is doing the best that they can, honestly. I mean, really. And
That's why I said an excellent job.
I love my Angelo's quote. It's like, I did the best that I could at the time. And now that I know different, I do different. And I think that that's all what we can aspire to do.
I agree.
Well, do you have anything else to add before we leave this magnificent Woosday on February 28th, 2024?
Well, I just want to say that if my mother would have been living tomorrow, the 29th, my mother's birthday would be tomorrow. So we still celebrate her. And so she was a leap year baby, and she was a twin. So I honor the ancestral energy of my mother. She was a Pisces, as you can see. So and to me, it's just spectacular because my father was a Cancer and my mother was a Pisces. Isn't that something? So I'm a Cancer sun and I'm a Pisces moon. So when I say I can see the beauty in them both through me and my siblings too. So yeah, I'm rocking on with life, baby. So let's all just keep our heads up and stay positive, use those psychic abilities, use that intuition, and balance it out and keep going. Don't stop, just keep going.
All right. Well, guys, make sure you got some good habits going on right now. And I know it's easy when we get all stressed out to kind of cave into some of those tendencies that we do that aren't our best behaviors, but that's really not going to be our best bet. So if you're having headaches or a little low on energy or maybe even sick, go outside, get yourself some of that Piscean energy from the sun. I know it's going to be a little cloudy, but you can still get it. And take a look at some of the habits that you have, and do those need to be reevaluated so you can get on back better track with your health goals that maybe you set forth in January. So again, ask yourself those 4 questions that the full moon that Moonbeam said for you guys to kind of take a look back. Number 1, is there anything that needs to be organized? Is there anything that you need to prioritize? Are you in balance? And is there a health issue that you need to take a look at? All right, guys, my name is Chrissy Smith. This is 9 Lives Energy, and together we energize your body from the inside out. Thanks so much.